And now, on today's episode of the What Is Up podcast, Bubba sits down with longtime friend Ryan Peterson, a small-town family man who is an avid hunter and triathlete, but also the only man to play the role of a wise man in a Christmas Eve play at church who needed to tape his one and only line to his box of frankincense. Here's your host, Bubba Seaman.
Welcome to the What Is Up podcast. If you like what you hear today, be sure to leave a 5-star review, like it. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to it. If you're on Spotify, follow it, wherever you're listening or watching. Boy, do I have a special guest for you today, and we are going to do our best to try and not get banned on our first episode. Now, this guy, he's not your typical lifelong John Deere worker. He's one of the smartest guys I know, yet he's still very humble, which, in my experience, is a rare thing for old John Deere workers. Maybe it happens when they retire, I don't know, but that's kind of a rare thing. He's very outspoken if you're in his inner circle. But if you're not in his inner circle, well, lucky you, you don't get to see the outspokenness. But I'm going to give you a glimpse of that today. He's an avid outdoorsman, hunter, triathlete, and he's the only guy to play the role of a wise man in a Christmas Eve play at church and have to tape his one and only line on top of his box of frankincense. Well, I guess I just gave you your introduction away. I wasn't even supposed to be reading that. That was the intro.
Cut that out.
We're 2 seconds in.
I love it.
I'm going to use some of it. So my guest today is Ryan Peterson. What is up?
How's it going, Bubba? Long time no see, man. It's been a while.
Yeah. What are we doing?
Oh,
I don't know. Okay, so for the listeners, let me tell you a little bit. Met Ryan back in the early 2000s, I'm thinking it was. I know me and Sarah
we
were
moved out here in 2000. So
okay, all right.
So by 2003 is when we started going to the church because George got to be 3 years old and could walk, so we started going to the church up there in Dunkerton. So 2003.
Yeah, First Baptist Church in Dunkerton. Yep. I remember it pretty clearly, man. You walked in with this ponytail like I had in high school, and both of us were pretty heavy.
Yeah, I was about 290.
Whew. Yeah, very unhealthy. You were testing engines at the time, weren't you?
Yep, the engine works, yeah.
That's right, okay. And you guys moved from Waterloo to Dunkerton. You actually bought my wife's childhood home when you moved to town.
Yep.
So, yeah, that was about 20 plus years ago. And I know you got some stories to share with our listeners. But before we get to any stories, I just want you to enlighten everyone listening a little bit about your childhood and your upbringing.
All right, well, we grew up in Waterloo. We started off on the east side of Waterloo. There was 4 kids in our family. I was the third child. We had 2 older sisters, and then me and then my younger brother. So it was kind of like 2 separate families, I would say. The older sisters, they weren't a lot older. My older sister, she's 7 years older than me, so she was on the upside getting ready to go when me and my brother started coming up. So it's basically 2 families. Me and my brother were really tight growing up. We're still really tight.
Yep.
We've been thicker than thieves since we were very little. We grew up going to Burton Avenue in Waterloo. Great church back in the day. I mean, during its prime, it had 350 to 400 members.
Wow.
We'd fill the entire place plus the auditorium. So at our church, he was a deacon, which would be what you consider an elder. Okay. We had trustees, which were the deacons. So different names, but so my dad was basically an elder at the church for a number of years. And him and Jim Lawless ran the WANA program.
Okay.
And so we all went through that all the way through high school.
Nice.
Really enjoyed the WANA program. We'd get, 90, 100 kids there every night. I mean, it was, we had a full gymnasium there at the church. So, and we'd go to the Awana games and, it was just, and then, you'd earn, just like our church, you'd earn money towards the camp for the summer. Our camp was over at Clear Lake, which was an outstanding church camp. The biggest difference between what I would say over there and what First Baptist had was they had a program that went all the way through high school, which I think is critical.
Yeah.
We did a really good job with the young kids in Dunkerton. And we used to. I mean, when I first started helping with the ones, we were getting 80, 90 kids. It was huge. Back in the day, huge.
Yeah.
So we'll talk more about that a little bit, I think. But, yeah, it was huge. And then I think our in my mind, I always told everybody our biggest shortcoming was we lose the kids right when they
at junior high range.
Right when they hit that rebellious age is when we're losing them. So a lot of that stuff that we worked with them on goes out the door immediately. I'd see it in a lot of kids. So
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah. So.
But what was your favorite part about Awana as a kid then? Were you going for the Bible or were you going for competition?
Game time, baby.
Okay.
Game time. I love games.
No girls? It was just competition?
No, my girlfriend from kindergarten basically till on and off again till I met Mary. I met at church. So
okay.
Yep. So
all right.
Me and Gina, we dated basically from kindergarten all the way through high school, on again, off again, on again, off again. Everybody thought we'd get married, but then we kind of just. I still get along with a nice girl, but we just kind of went separate ways. But
sure.
Yeah, they had four kids in their family also. So I actually hung around her two older brothers a lot, and that's how I kind of started hanging around her and just kind of one of them. Yep. So that was going up through high school, I guess. I went to West High School. I did not like high school. High school was not really for me. I spent more time skipping high school, going fishing than in high school. I'm a good test taker, so I was able to get B's and C's in high school.
Yeah.
But I never went to school. I mean, I'm just telling you, if my mother hadn't been the saint she was and kept calling the school with different, I don't know if it's the saint or she just wanted me out of the house. Probably wanted me out of the house. She knew if I did. I think she knew if I didn't, graduate high school, I might end up living in their basement forever. So,
wow.
She covered me a lot. I bet I missed 40 days my senior year. Minimum.
Good grief.
And it could have been more. I kid you not, I would go fishing more than I would go to school.
Wow.
But I always loved the outdoors. When I was in school, I got ADHD, and so big time. When I was in school, they didn't have stuff for that back then. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And so I cannot sit still for hours on end. I still can't to this day. I get fidgety, my legs, I get just nervous energies.
Mm-hmm.
I got to move around. And so that's, I guess, so college was a lot better for me because it was 1 hour at a time.
Sure.
High school was not for me.
Okay.
And I had a lot of friends when I started high school, but they all, not they all, but a large portion of them got into drugs, heavy drug use my sophomore year. And so to avoid that, I stopped hanging around them. So I had very few friends my last few years of high school, which made it even more, I'd say difficult or easier to not go to school.
Sure.
I had a couple of friends, they went to Cedar Falls High School. So I hung around those guys after school. So I didn't need to be at school. So that's kind of my school scenario. So got in quite a few fights when in school, it's just not a stupid stuff like that. And that's kind of how I got into boxing. So
let's talk about that a little bit.
So I mean, my kids call it rage, Ryan. On occasion, I get worked up over stuff.
That's okay.
My dad told me I had a temper when I was in my youth, and boxing did a fantastic job of curbing my extra energy. I go to the club 3-4 nights a week and we work out. And the last thing you want to do is get in a fist fight when you've been boxing somebody for 3 hours the night before,
Sure.
So it did an excellent job, and it focused my energy. I
channeled that. Yeah.
I always need something, as I still do my day. I need something to focus my energies on, or idle hands, the devil's playground.
Absolutely.
For me, it's always been that way to this day. And so if I don't do something, so I was a decent boxer. I could have been better. My temper would get to me in the ring. I was a long, rangy boxer, but I like to fight on the inside, which doesn't make any sense. Because I like the bravado, who's tougher.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, who's a man?
I didn't care to outbox you. When we would have sparring sessions, I beat some of the best guys in the nation in sparring sessions. When it got time for, the finals of Golden Gloves, what would I do? Who's tougher? And there you go. I would. So, but I have no regrets. I had a fantastic time. Me and my brother did that for a number of years. I helped. He was an excellent boxer. He's a 3-time Golden Glove champion from Iowa.
You're talking Kurt Peterson.
Kurt's an excellent boxer. So I spent a lot of time working with him too. So, I mean, boxing was great. One of the funnest things I ever did.
Okay.
Had a lot of fun.
Good. All right, move on from that. So now let's talk young adult years, marriage, that kind of stuff, starting family.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit.
Me and Mary met. Was she 18 or just 19? She was young. 18, maybe just 19. I was 22, so I'm 4 years older than her. We met at Hy-Vee. We did not date for very long.
Working at Hy-Vee? Or?
Yep.
Okay.
So I went to Iowa State, boxing a boxing team down there for a semester, went to school down there. I did not like the scene down there. It was the worst experience of my life. So I came back up here to go to UNI, and I needed a job real quick. So I got a job at Hy-Vee, third shift stocking shelves.
Oh, Kurt Warner stuff there. Okay.
So Mary was the cashier gal there, and I have a thing for gals that have piercings and tattoos. So there's like 3 things that get me. Okay, they just do with women. It's just piercings, ding, 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 tattoos, love them.
Okay.
and hair that's dyed a different color. If you got those three things when in my youth,
Then. Okay.
in my youth. But I still like the dyed hair and tat. I mean,
It's getting real, folks.
I don't think it was then when Mary dyes her hair in the summertime, puts a little dye or something. I still go for that. That's the look I like.
And you're 45?
I am almost 49.
Okay, almost 49, and the guy likes piercings, tattoos, and dyed hair.
That's my you know what?
Okay.
But I grew up in the late 80s, early 90s. So
Yep.
grunge in the grunge
The
era.
grunge,
So,
yes.
I mean, that's just what I like. I don't like yuppish girls. Okay, I don't like a girl that's a high maintenance.
Sure.
So I like a girl that's down. You know, she doesn't mind getting her nails dirty.
Okay.
So, when I saw her, I instantly was attracted to her. I'm like, oh wow, that's my cup of tea right there. So,
Nice.
So yeah, so that's how I met her. I started hitting on her, and boy, she'll get mad, but I think it was a year and a half. It wasn't year to year and a half. Let's see, it was 90. So it was 96. Was it 96? Yeah, 96. Like, or early 97 when we first. Oh, it was early 97. So like March, maybe April of 97 went on our first date.
Okay.
And we were married. We got married in July of 98. So a year,
The following
year and 3 months we got married.
Okay.
But I knew we had dated like 3 months, and I told her we're gonna get married. I just knew, you know.
Sure.
When you know, you know. I met her, went on 2 dates. I'm like, I like this girl. This is what I'm looking for. So
Okay.
a year later, her mother was not real keen on it. She had a grandmother that was trying to talk her out of it, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
Who's this, you know? Because by this time I just started working at Deere's. I've been at Deere's for about a year, so I was going to college part time, working at John Deere. So and I was a little rough around the edges. So no, they're all keen to me now, but back then it was they weren't real keen on this.
I get it.
No, and I would be the same way. She was 19 years old, you know, getting hooked up with this guy and getting married that she barely knows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, yeah. We just celebrated 25 years this summer, so it's working out pretty good.
Amen. Amen. Dude, that's a feat nowadays.
Right. Oh, it is.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy.
A couple generations ago, that was like
the norm.
But now,
Right, so yeah.
good for you guys.
Yep. So.
All right, and then kids start coming.
Oh yeah. So we we didn't wait right long to jump into that little endeavor. So we had George. Oh, and you guys know I'm terrible with dates.
Yeah, you don't gotta give me dates.
George was born in 2000. Correct.
If you can get the year, there you go.
2000, 2003, 2006. Remember that now. This is my ADHD.
There we go.
Yeah, so we had George in 2000. He's our oldest. He's now he works at Financial Decisions Group over in Waterloo.
Okay.
He was a really smart, he got done with high school. He's a valedictorian high school, extremely smart kid. Got done with college in a couple of years, so
yeah.
He's extremely smart. He's out doing very well in his new career already. Then we had Elizabeth in 2006, and she is at Hawkeye now, so and then we got Hank, who's just started his junior year of high school. So,
yeah.
Me and Hank do a lot of stuff together still. All the kids come over every Sunday for dinner, but me and Hank, we run, we fish, we swim, and George and Henry play frisbee golf once a week, and
good.
So yeah, we do. I threw my shoulder out last weekend doing that. That's what 49 gets you.
Wow. I didn't realize you were 49. I thought you were a few years older than me.
Oh, I wish.
Holy smokes.
I wish, Bubba.
Man, that's good stuff. That's really good stuff.
Oh yeah, that's what's happening with the kids. So you want to talk about early years of, that's just a general gist of my kids, but the early years of marriage, which if for those that are young, are rough. Me and Mary were just talking about the ride home. It was extremely hard.
Mm-hmm.
If you aren't extremely dedicated, you won't make it.
You won't make it.
We had a very, very rough patch. When you're young, especially if you're like us, we didn't come from money.
Right.
So we got married early, young. I work in a factory, and I was working 70, 80 hours a week, literally, around the clock working. I couldn't get out of the factory. They lock you in 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. So that in itself is a stress on a family,
sure. Yeah.
If you're working that much. And then, then you add the debt, which is if you come from you or I, you're young, you're going to have your money,
yep.
Right? So you get into debt. So then you're arguing about money. You got young kids. You don't know how to, you don't know what to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're working extremely long hours in hot factories. And then we had our houses that I was constantly trying to remodel and work on. So the biggest thing that we didn't do, I would say, is make time for one another in our youth.
Okay.
And then because of that, you start really not liking each other. Then the little things that shouldn't bother you really bother you. So yeah, my late 20s to early 30s were rough for me.
Okay.
Very rough.
Did you guys do pre-marriage counseling?
No.
Okay. So when you say those kinds of things, we did do pre-marriage counseling, and some of the best advice I heard in the pre-marriage counseling was throw that D word out of your vocabulary. Mm-hmm. No matter how busy you get, whether the kids start coming or they're involved in things or you don't have kids for years, you make time to go out on a date together. If you can't do it weekly, every other week. If you can't do it then, once a month. You make time for each other. And that speaks to those things right there, because there's going to be those moments where you look at that person across from you and you don't like them. You may love them, but you don't like them.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Or you get done with the raising kids. Kids are out of the house. Now it's you two again. If you didn't make time for yourselves, you don't know each other anymore. And you've seen that happen.
Oh.
And they get divorced after 30 years of marriage because they didn't know each other anymore. They didn't make time for themselves. And the other big bit of wisdom I heard, this wasn't in pre-marriage counseling. This was someone else's pastor gave them this. They said, soon or today, you're getting married because you love each other. But there's going to come a day where you're going to have to love each other just because you're married. You know what I mean? I was like, that's a good one. So for anybody listening out there, if you're young and dating like our kids are, I mean, my goodness, first thing I'd say is don't date until you're ready to mate. If you're running around when you're young, I'd advise against it. It causes a lot of pain. Now we got kids that are dating and all that, and Bridget's engaged now, and it looks like that really worked out well. But my goodness, when you're that young, I think about our relationship. We did everything you shouldn't do, and we hurt each other more than you can imagine. And you drag all that into a marriage if you ever get married.
Oh yeah.
You got to be mature and ready, and it's a tough world. But
yeah, I was just telling my youngest that and so when you're testosterone hits, you're gonna want to chase girls. It just is what it is.
Yep.
I think you should keep everything fun and light. Nothing should be serious in high school.
In the high school years,
it should not be serious. You've got so much to think about. What's your life? Sure, you want to go on dates, go to the dance, do this, do that. Keep it light.
Yeah.
I think keeping it light when you're young is just gonna, and that's one thing that I did do. I mean, I may have the same girlfriend, but it was never nothing that serious with her.
Right.
I mean, we liked each other. We'd go out, we go to a dance, we do this, we do that, but it was never. I see a lot of these kids getting way too serious.
Yep.
Pushing the envelope way too far, too young, and then yeah, when you're not emotionally mature for it, it creates some serious issues.
Yep. Sure can.
Especially when you start going down the physical roads when you're emotionally, you're not ready to be doing those things. So
right.
Yeah,
you gotta. I mean, I think the statistics and the studies show. I mean, you got to be intentional about dating. You're talking about recreational dating. To me, there's no. That's all just going to lead to bad stuff. If you're going to be intentional, how can you be intentional about finding a spouse in high school? Right. You know what I mean? So it kind of
no,
makes
I don't
sense.
know what you mean.
Right.
So you shouldn't be doing it.
I hear you.
I wasn't mature enough when I got married.
Well, neither was I.
I mean,
so
give me a break.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm there yet, Bubba.
Well, if you're still into piercings, dyed hair, and tattoos.
Ding, ding, ding.
But I mean, so yeah, full disclaimer for our audience, man. If we come off as preachy from time to time, know that we're just trying to give truth, and we're speaking from two guys who did everything wrong at one point or another and still struggle. So we're not preaching at you. We're just saying this is what we see. This is what we know is truth. And yeah, the Bible says, man, it's meant, that physical stuff is meant between a husband and a wife, and that's it. And you'll be blessed if you can do it. And neither of us were able to do that. So we're just being honest. So,
right.
Okay, man. So you got the kids growing up and all that stuff. Yep. You end up coming into the church. And I always tell people, they say, oh, man, so you had 3.
Yep.
We got 4 in the same church for years at the time. And everyone says, oh, man, those years fly by. And I say, no, they don't. When they're all in diapers, and they're stacked one on top of the other, that doesn't go. Now, where we're at now, yeah, once they get up into like junior high, then you got ball games, you got this,
man.
Then it flies right by.
Yeah, see, I'm in the flying stage now. So like once George hit his senior years, I wanted to start pumping their brakes. I seen all my kids getting real old real quick. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
No, when they get self-sufficient, you start seeing less and less. And it's like, man, what happened?
Right. Yeah.
And, George is gone. Boom. Elizabeth's in college. Boom. Henry's almost done with high school. It's like, oh man, where did time go now?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
the last few years have flown for me. It's not all bad, not all, so.
When I think of back then, I think of, I see us as two guys that were carrying in car seats to church every Sunday. And I remember I was jealous of you because you guys had the one that the handle of the car seat went, north-south.
Right.
And I had the one that just, from one side of the car seat went over the other. And I always had to carry like that. I was like, man, look at that. They got that nice one, Mary was always hip to the new stuff or whatever. And you kind of learn. You get what you pay for, man. I should have bought one of them nice ones. But that was us. We were, raising kids. We were carrying car seats into church. We were serving in Awana for just years and years and years. So I think we actually started to kind of bond at I think it was a sweetheart banquet we were setting up.
Yep. We
were all on the committee together, and we were setting out pens and papers because I think we were going to play the Newlywed Game, and it was just you and me in the sanctuary, and we were talking about stuff, and I said something. You were talking about hunting or something. I was like, well, I'm kind of getting into it. I'm watching a lot of Ted Nugent at the time, and you were like, my man, like, yeah, that's good stuff. And so then come years of, you telling me these stories because you hunted a lot of public ground, Hickory Hills and stuff. And then our hunting paths crossed from time to time when I would mess up and things. So let's get into a couple of those stories. I'm sure guys will enjoy that stuff. So what was it like public hunting at Hickory Hills? What drove you to buy your own land and become a homesteader?
So I hunted public ground for around 12 or 13 years, I'd say. And when I first started, because, I didn't grow up in a hunting family. My dad didn't hunt, he didn't fish. So my grandfather introduced me to fishing when I was really young. And I fell in love with fishing. And then I always wanted to try hunting. Always wanted to try it. So I actually started hunting by watching, but I didn't know how to clean an animal, so I had never went, right? So I ended up starting watching Ted Nugent, and I see this, Spirit of the Wild show, and he shows how to clean an animal. I look at Mary, I'm like, I can do that. And she's like, you can't do that. So, of course, now I have to go hunting. So, so I go out and I get my first deer, and I get it gutted, and we hang it in the garage. And it hung for 3 days in the garage. It was cool out, so it was no big deal, but it was just a big doe, and I let it hang in the garage for 3 days. And her mom came over, and what are you going to do? You can't cut that up. And so, I don't know, I'm 24, 25, somewhere around there, it doesn't matter. Right around the same age, 24, 25. Anyway, I had no money to take this to a locker. The only way this thing was getting processed is if I took a knife to it. So finally one night I peeled the hide off, and then I was like, well, that wasn't that bad. Then I see the lines. I'm like, oh, okay, cut right down the line. So, and we had a little hand grinder we had picked up at an auction.
Oh.
So we've got pictures at my house. This is from your wife's former house.
Okay.
Where we'd do all of our grind at one night with a hand grinder. It'd be me, my brother, and Mary. And we did over 300 pounds one night by hand and vacuum sealed it all by hand. We'd had an entire counter full of meat, but it was the only way we were going to afford meat back in the day. That was by shooting deer. So anyway, so I started hunting Hickory Hills, and my first 4 or 5 years was absolutely fantastic out there. We shot a lot of deer, had a really good time. This is when the deer numbers were just phenomenal.
Yeah.
You could get, I was shooting 8, 9, 10 deer a year easily. My record was, I think 11 deer I shot in 1 year. I shot during that year, one night out, I shot 2 does, almost shot a third one in the same group. So it was a group of 3 does came in. I shot one. They spun around back behind me. I reloaded. I had a shot the second one. I almost got a shot at the third one. And I did. I didn't have a cell phone or nothing back then, so I had to go home and get my brother, and we're out there, in the dark searching for these stupid deer. We find them, and we find the first one. It's like, okay, let's get out of here. So then, like, no, there's another one. And my brother is a less patient person than I am when he gets
really.
He gets with me, you see the real Kurt. You know what I mean?
Okay,
we've grown up together. He was less than impressed. He was over being out there. So we got to drag 2 deer a mile back through the woods. So he was very unhappy that night. But so then, how it all started going south. So we started getting a lot of riffraff hunting out there. I would say people that were not so keen to the normal etiquette of hunting.
Etiquette, yeah.
They'd set up on top of you. You'd be out there. They'd walk by you with 15 minutes of daylight left after you sat there all day long. Then they started sitting in my tree stand, smoking cigarettes, drinking beer. And then, so there was 2 things that ended up for me. So the first thing was I shot a pretty decent buck, not a great buck, but a decent public buck. And I knew it went into the refuge and died. I heard it crash down the creek mountain. So it didn't make it 150 yards, but it was a bigger body deer. So I called my brother and I still had a doe tag. It was the peak of the rut. I'm like, I'm just going to sit here. Okay. So I called up. But now I got a cell phone. I called Kurt up. He's like, yep, I'll be out there in an hour. I said, I'll just sit tight till then. So Kurt comes rolling up to my stand and he goes, man, there's two guys just dragging a pretty good buck out of here. I said, my heart instantly dropped. I go, did you stop them? He goes, why would I stop them? They got a buck. Good for them. So short story long there, we followed my blood trail down to a gut pile.
Dang.
So then.
No confrontation?
Oh, I sprint to the parking lot now. We use that term sprint real loosely because at the time I'm still probably
pretty heavy.
280 at this time.
Yeah.
So it's more of a run, plot, walk, probably a 20-minute mile to the and I had to save a little bit of energy because I wanted to confront these guys. I didn't want to be completely gassed when I get there, right? Well, I get there to see blood in the parking lot in my vehicle, my brothers. So they were long since gone. They enjoyed my deer, and so I was very frustrated. So, but that got me on the ropes. So then that shotgun season, me and Surly, one of my good buddies, and Kurt were decided to shotgun hunt out there, and I'm pretty good with a gun in my hands. Okay. So we're sitting there. I'm sitting in the hayfield, which was my hayfield stand, and you can shoot about 200 yards across this hayfield. So some guys came and sat up between me and my brother and Chad. So these two guys sat between us. Well, this little Baskerville 6 or 8 point, I don't even remember now. He came running up between us all, and these guys unload their guns. Boom, 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 boom. Well, there's fresh powder snow on the ground. This deer comes running. So I'm probably 200 yards away from him. The deer's running with his tongue hanging out, goes running in front of me. I got a 45 caliber muzzleloader. I let one eat and I flip him end over end. I'm like, I start giggling, laughing. I'm like,
nice.
So it ain't 3 minutes later. I'm just getting out of my stand here. These two guys come up. They're both pretty good sized gentlemen, and they come up there and they want to start arguing with me that they shot this deer. And I can be worked into a tizzy, but it doesn't start. I'm always calm. I'm very patient and I'm fair. I'm always fair at first.
Okay.
I don't get worked up until you push me. If you push me over the edge, then you see the different side of me. So I told him, I said, listen, show me a speck of blood from where I shot to you and you can have the deer.
Sure.
I said, one speck of blood, it's yours. I don't even care if you hit it vital. I know that I hit it vital. I flipped that deer end over end. So, but if you had another bullet in it, I'll let you have it. I'm not going to argue over a deer. I don't care that much. You can have the deer. I'll shoot another one. So, of course, there's no blood. So then he said, well, it must have just started bleeding when it got to you. I said, okay, well, let's flip. They said, what are you guys shooting for a gun? Well, they both had 12-gauge shotguns.
Okay.
Well, we know what size a 12-gauge shotgun slug hole is. I'm shooting a 195 grain bullet out of a 45 caliber muzzle bullet. It's like a pinhole, okay? So we flip the deer end over end. There's one hole in this deer, and it's right through the shoulders, and it is the size of a pin. I said, well, boys.
That's not a 12-gauge slug.
That is not from a 12-gauge. This is my deer. So now I got one in front of me, one behind me, and they think they're going to bully me. Well, I spent 49 years not being bullied. That's one thing I don't tolerate. So I set my guns down. I invited them to set their guns down. And I said, listen, we can figure this out, boys, but this is probably not going to end well for anybody. So by now, there's a third buddy of theirs that I didn't know about. He's coming up the hill. So now I'm like, uh-oh.
Oh, my gosh.
Now I don't like my odds. When it was 2, I liked my odds. 3, I'm like, this could be trouble. Good thing I got a cell phone. I called my buddy Chad, who's about 310 pounds, and Kurt's never been scared for a little showdown.
No, he's not.
I said, boys, we need to even the odds up. So I made a phone call to Chad, and it wasn't 2 minutes later, those two were sprinting across the top of the hayfield, guns over shoulders. And so anyway, once we had the odds even up, these guys didn't want to discuss the deer no more.
Oh, okay.
So then they told me, oh, you can have that deer. Well, guess we'll let you have it. I said, no, I'm taking my deer. This is so that's when I realized that, getting in arguments and maybe so one thing my dad always told me is you should never argue or fight when you're holding firearms. And that's when I realized this is not worth it.
Very wise.
So I have 3 young kids at home, and I'm arguing over a deer I didn't need to begin with. But it wasn't about the deer, it was about the principle.
Principle matter.
If these guys that come to me and say, listen, we've been hunting all year, we've never got a deer. I would have gave them the deer.
Sure.
It was their approach. They came up and tried to bully me out of my deer. So that's anyway. So I went home that night and I decided. I told Mary. I said, Mary, if I can't purchase hunting ground next year, I'm done. I will not hunt anymore. I'm not going to get killed to shoot deer. This is not worth my time.
Right.
It's supposed to be a relaxing hobby amongst friends. And when it turns into constant confrontation and arguments and fights because people don't want to have any etiquette or ethics,
Right.
I don't want a part of that no more. So that is how I ended up buying my own property.
Okay.
That was 13 years ago when I bought my own property, which is one of the best decisions I made.
Been that long? Oh yeah, it was right around the 2012 Olympics, wasn't
Yeah,
it? I kind of remember that.
13 years ago. I just ran through my first 10 years of CRP. I had it in crop ground for 3 years. I ran a 10-year program in CRP, which just came up. And so I re-entered some of my ground back in CRP. So that's been 13 years.
See, and that's why I said that, you're one of the smartest guys I know, because you didn't know anything about land management. You'd never built a cabin, nothing. If you don't know, you will spend enough time on the internet or in books, and you will just do the work till you do know. And that's it. And that's rare.
Resilience. I'm not smart. I'm resilient. I've always been resilient. I always told my dad when we were young, my dad was big and muscular. My dad's 79 years old and he looks phenomenal.
Okay.
He's got great big 17-inch arms. He looks great. So I still tell him this day, he's built for show. I'm built to go. That's what I've always told him. Go from jump. I've always told him that, Bubba.
That's on the Father's Day cards.
He knows it. He knows it's coming out here till we do something together. I love to learn new stuff. So one thing my dad told me when I was little that's always stuck with me. He said, if you don't learn something new every day, you wasted that day. So I try to learn. It doesn't have to be anything big, just one little thing. And owning the property, I got huge into trees. I got huge into a lot of things. I've learned so much.
Sure.
And it's been an incredible investment over the years too. The way the property's grown. And I mean, me and my family have had a ton of fun. Just a lot of time with me and the boys up there. I mean, you can't put a price on that to begin with. You know what I mean?
Nope.
And just the fact that I can let Henry go up there now and hunt and it's just relaxed. There's nothing to worry about. We got a good neighbor. It's just, he's going up there for the weekend to hunt. Great.
Nice.
You know what I mean? It's not, if he was hunting public like I had to, I'd be very nervous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is he going to get shot? Is someone going to beat him up? He's coming out in the dark. It's because, unfortunately, the world of hunters is, in my mind's eye, continues to digress.
Go downhill. Sure. Yeah.
So it used to be, when it was purely the generation before us who I started hunting with, unfortunately, their ethics were a lot better than my generation of coming down.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't really get into it till we were kind of first getting together and stuff. So I mean, I think you could probably remember my first crappy Martin archery bow, and I was like, "Yeah, Ryan, I'm getting into bow hunting." And you grabbed that thing and you pulled it back. I think we were doing daycare for you at the time. I think we were watching some of your kids, and you kind of pulled it back and like, "Yeah, you can get started with that," and kind of head down like humble beginnings. It's kind of a junk bow, but hey. Anyway, so, and that, that led into we'd trade hunting stories different times. And then sometimes we wouldn't need to trade them because you'd get, drug into them. And, so yeah, I'm hunting some private land, lucky enough, over by the Wapsie or whatever. And I never been fortunate enough to get a big buck or anything like that. And man, I had, 5 arrows in my quiver, and that buck come out before sunset, and I hit the doe can or whatever, and I had scent out, and he came right towards me, and he came so fast that I forgot the whole each pin means a different yardage thing. So I think I shot at him when he was about 15 yards away with my 40-yard pin, and you remember right where it hit him.
Right in the spine.
Right in the spine. And so then, and not that we were hunting together then, but I mean, you came into that story a little bit later. I proceeded. This is one of those, what do the Robertson guys call it? A DED, don't ever do. If you spine a deer, it's not just going to lay still. Its back legs are done. Usually it'll get up on its front and it will spin in a circle. You do not empty your quiver while it's spinning because you will not hit. You couldn't hit it in the vitals on its way into you. What makes you think you can hit while it's spinning around in a circle? So this thing was a pin cushion, and I'm out of arrows, and I am assuming you can't walk up to this thing. So I call my brother-in-law first, who was moving at the time, and he said, "I got my bow in the car. I can come out and shoot it, but that's it. You're on your own." I was like, "That's fine." So I called you at the same time, and I said, "This deer is gonna be dead. I'm going to need some help. It's dark, whatever. And sure enough, my brother-in-law come out. He put one in the boiler room. The thing expired. By the time you get there, you're just shaking your head like, yeah, it was a nice buck, but it looked like a freaking pincushion. And you say, how come you didn't just walk over to it, put your foot on its neck, and pull one of them arrows out and then punch it through behind the shoulder? And I was like, I ain't going towards that thing. It's spinning around. It could impale me. And you're like, it's not an elk. I mean, it ain't gonna, geez, man. You just let that thing sit there and suffer. And so we got that thing and drag it out. And I'm all pumped because it was a pretty decent buck.
Nice
I mean,
deer.
It was the rut time.
Yeah,
the rack wasn't good,
deer.
but it was big. And Kurt had just got his house done that year, right?
Yep.
And it was what? I don't know. It had to have been 9, 10 o'clock when we got there, and this brand new garage. And
we turned into a war zone.
Dripping blood because, when you put one through the heart and lungs and that deer runs, all that blood gets squirted out. And not this one. All of its adrenaline, all of its blood just filled up in that cavity. It was a don't ever do kind of thing. But you guys stayed up however late it took, and we got that thing butchered. I think I gave you guys the loins.
We took a loin
for
off
your
it.
trouble. And put that thing in freezer paper and some of it, and then I took it to Rowley, I think, the next morning before we headed to Cabela's for our yearly Cabela's trip. But lots of good story. And like Kurt, I remember he came out. Bridget, when she first got into hunting, she hit that one right behind the she actually went into the shoulder with that muzzleloader, and I understood how to do a grid search and stuff, and it was dark, and I was like, man, we're just gonna have to leave it, Bridget. I can't find it. I called you, and you said, hey, I'm up at the cabin, but call Kurt. I called Kurt. He said, yeah, I'll be out in the morning, and he found that thing right away about 20 yards where we stopped looking. And Kurt, I think you guys come out a couple times and helped me track. Yeah, in that high grass that one time where it was a drop of blood here or there, and you guys were like bloodhounds, man. Very good.
That's Kurt's nickname.
Yeah.
Kurt's nickname is a bloodhound. He has found more deer for us. I mean, you hunt as much as we did and shoot the amount of deer we shoot, you end up in bad situations.
Right. At some point.
You just do.
See, but I don't want to. So I tell, as my kids are coming up, I say, you don't take that shot unless you know, because I'm not going to track it. And I hate calling a friend. Put it where it's supposed to go. If you can't, let it walk. That's fine. But in those same years, something happened to us. We got tired of being fat, I guess. And we remember I can't remember how it started for you, but I know how it started for me was that stupid boxing match here in Fairbank. I don't know how many years ago that was. And I thought, man, this is when I was doing a lot of stuff I shouldn't do and having some marriage trouble. And you throw alcohol in the mix. And so you saw it. I was not the guy I was supposed to be. And you were right there with me for some reason. I don't know how that worked out. But they bring this boxing event to Fairbank, and me and you were just like, oh, man, yeah, I got to do that. And you, Mr. Amateur Box, yeah, I'll coach you up. You can come over one night in my basement, and I'll show you everything you need to show. And so we sign up, but we thought it was going to be MMA. And I get this kid, bigger kid. I was probably bigger than him at the time, but he was solid. He played some college football. And
he had some size on you.
Yeah. We decided to do that, and that didn't go well. I don't know who.
That's where I disagree.
It was embarrassing.
I disagree. Your emotions are embarrassing. I disagree with you of the outcome of the fight. You were tougher than him. You were stronger than him, and you were wearing him out. If you had listened to me and MMA fought him, you got talked out of that.
Yeah.
You would have. Yeah. He may have. You're also, I hate to give you any props, you're also built to go. You're stronger than you look, and you were pushing him around, and he was exhausted in the round. If there had been one more round, you could have had him. Now, did he clobber you the first round? Oh, it was bad. That's because you wouldn't keep your hands up. But
I was just learning.
I thought you did excellent for your first time in there. And, I mean, you made up with toughness for your lack of skill. You took some you took some heavy shots that night. I was very impressed by the shots that you took and stayed on your feet. You were committed to it. Now afterwards, when you were laying there, you had a hung alone. I was trying. You were that way with everything though. You were way more emotional than I am.
Yep.
So I don't understand that because my dad took that, when we men aren't emotional like that. So we just weren't, you know what I mean? So
yeah, no, I'm a bit of a baby.
You're emotional after the fact and that's where I always have to walk away because I don't know what to say. Cause it does make me uncomfortable. It just does. It always has.
Yeah. You didn't hang around that night after that, did you? Everyone else did. Hey, let's look at Bubba's face. It's already starting to swell.
I was proud of what you got accomplished in there. It was very impressive. And I was very impressed. Honestly, I was. The guy was bigger than you. He was a strong kid.
You know that's still on YouTube, right?
And you handled yourself just fine in there.
Okay.
One more round you'd have had him. I know you would have. You were starting to wear him out in that third round. You were pushing him around. Like I said, if you could have just scored a takedown, we could have finished that.
Yeah,
fight.
if we didn't have the boxing gloves on.
The stupid boxing gloves on. I was suggesting it between second or third round. I said, take the gloves off, take him down to the ground, beat him up. I go, let's change the game.
It's not working out.
Yeah, so when you had that fight there, I had already lost my weight.
Yeah, you were in shape.
Yep. So you were just starting yours. Oh, how I started mine, I'll give you the quick 10-second snaps.
Sure.
So that was one of my life-changing deals. So we go back to when I was talking about when I was very unhappy. I was very unhappy with my life, and a large part of when you're unhappy, it shows in your fist. In my mind's eye, it shows in everything you do, the way you look, the way you dress, the way you act, the way everything. Okay, and so I had decided that I was tired of being in a bad mood, in a bad place. My whole life was just,
okay.
I was always looking at the negatives. Okay, so I decided to make some changes in my life. Okay, and it started with Mary. Me and Mary made some changes. We made a commitment. We were going to do this and this. We were going to go out. We were going to start spending time together.
Okay.
We were going to put ourselves for years and years and years. Here's something that I don't know how anybody else thinks of it, but I think something that we learned is that when you have kids, in that family relationship, your spouse should still be first. We mixed that up, and the kids really took first place to us. Well, if you don't have a good relationship, the kids don't see a good relationship. Yeah. They suffer. Once we changed our relationship, it changed our relationship with our kids. It changed everything. My outlook on life changed 180. You know what I mean? It was completely different. And so then because of that, I decided I wanted to get in shape. So, and then I started, so instead of, going home and drinking 4 or 5 beers and chewing a can of Copenhagen, I'd go out for a run.
Okay.
I'd lift weights. Positivity.
Sure.
I added positive things and I made that commitment to myself, which as far as in my mind's eye has held pretty true since then. I've maintained a positive outlook in life since then. And I also, a big part of that though, and it did come with age, I didn't have to be trapped at work 80 hours a week anymore.
Right, yeah.
And I just started refusing. I said, I'm not doing that. I will not do that. I will not spend you have a life to live and it doesn't all revolve. I understand there'll be eras in your life where, you got to man up. Man up and work the hours to provide for your family, which I did. But once I decided, listen, I might give you 60. And there's been spells since then I put in 70, 80, 90 hours a week, but they're short spurts. I won't do it for years on end. I did it for years on end.
Yeah.
When we were building our house, it was the worst year of my 2 years of my life,
Oh, I remember that. We didn't see much of you.
I was working 12 hours a day on third shift, and then I'd work on the house from 6 to noon, building the house, and then I'd go get a few hours of sleep and go right to work, and then you got 3. We had 2 kids and one on the way. Mary was 8 months pregnant. We were building the house, so she couldn't help.
Right.
Terrible. But like I said, once I changed my outlook on life and decided that so that's why I'm losing the weight. Once I changed my outlook, I said, hey, because if you don't care about yourself, you don't care what you look like.
Yep.
I had high blood pressure. I was morbidly obese. I couldn't walk around the block. It's embarrassing. My knees hurt all the time. It's embarrassing. When I look back at pictures of it now, it's embarrassing because in my mind's eye, I was still 190 pounds of chisel muscle. I literally didn't know. Mary had taken pictures of me shooting my handgun. And I told her she had a bad angle. I swear to you, Bubba.
Yeah.
This is how it all started with the weight. And she goes, no, Ryan, you're fat. And I said,
oh.
I said, are you kidding me? She's like, no, you're fat. And so then I started with a 1 mile run, Bubba.
It killed you, didn't it?
Oh, it almost killed me. I said, I'm going to go out and back in the day, that was a warm up. Before we started boxing, that was a warm up. I said, we're going for a 1 mile run. I went for a 1 mile run in the neighborhood, and I had back spasms, fat spasms in my back, so bad that when I got back. Spasms. No, that's what they were, Bubba. I got back to my yard, and I laid in the yard, and Mary had to come out and stand on my back because my back was spasming so bad. And of course, she's laughing at me because she was right. She was right. I was that bad in shape, So that's what started on. That's what started my whole get back in shape. Okay. But once I got back in shape, that did have a big impact. I would say, on my whole outlook on life.
Okay.
So that's why I lost weight and how it all started.
Well, that's good. Mine was forced because when you got back to work after that boxing match, what'd you hear rumors of somebody saying, "Oh yeah, a buddy of mine beat up some fat kid from Dunkerton in the Fairbank boxing match," and you heard it, and said, well, I wouldn't say he did that, but, and so you brought that news back to me, and I was like, I'm the fat kid from Dunkerton, because I'm like you. I didn't realize, I think I was 240 that night. We had to weigh in, but at my heaviest, I got up to 260 after high school.
Right.
But I still thought, senior year high school, 240, fast, heck of a football player, whatever. I carry it well. No, somebody step up and tell us we're fat, we're out of shape, you shouldn't breathe heavy walking up the stairs, stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, that's what started it. So then after that boxing thing, so now you're on this fitness kick, and you tell me one night, we had decided we were going to start boxing together. We're going to get in shape. We're going to do a little MMA. We're going to do whatever, all that stuff. And that was short-lived, but you made me run, what was it? It was 9 laps around the track. You said, "Oh, that's 2.25 miles. You're going to do it tonight." And I was like, I ran the mile in high school and I hated it. You're asking me to do more than double that. And once you did it once you power through, you realize
it ain't that bad.
Yeah, your mind can make your body do things that you think you can't do. And so, yeah, we had a lot of fun competing in 5Ks together and doing all that stuff. So we used to compete in the 5Ks when we were first really getting going, and you had made that wooden plaque on a machine at work, which I
forgot about that.
I have that hanging in the garage.
I forgot about that.
And it was road race series, whatever. And it was a trophy, and it had your name, my name, some little things you had programmed in the CNC or whatever. And all that. And so we had this big showdown. I think it was at the Alive and Running in Dunkerton one year, and whoever won got to take it home, and I beat you. And at the end of that race, you said, "That's it. I got to put down the Mountain Dew, the beer, and the chew and get serious." And from that moment on, you never looked back, and I don't think I ever beat you again. And so, yeah, we progressed into triathlon, because running alone it wore me out, and I was like, I can't do that. It takes a special mind to just run for miles and miles. And we did half marathons. You did marathons. You went all the way up to marathons before you got into triathlon. So we get into triathlons, and we started in the short ones, the sprints, and you've gone all the way up to half Ironmans, full Ironmans, all that good stuff. But the very beginning of it, we thought, we're going to compete again. Let's get it on. And we're trash talking, leading up. And we're both training hard and all that, and getting in really good shape, because when you're working 3 disciplines and then you also got to do weights and stuff to be able to do that, man, I mean, it was trash talk up until the moment we dove in the water. And I had my wife's grandpa bought me this recreational wetsuit. And I thought, man, now I got him. Like, this is going to be good. And that thing was not as tight as it should be. And that's what you don't want. You want that wetsuit to be skin tight, and it will keep you a little bit buoyant. And if it's not, the water gets in there, and it's the opposite of buoyant. And I didn't put my face in the water for more than 50 meters probably, and then I was old school swimming it, face out of the water, rubbed the back of my neck raw. And if I remember right, that race, I started
5 minutes ahead of me.
5 minutes ahead of you because of our age difference. They did it in waves, and he caught me in the swim. I was behind him before we even got out of the water. My goodness.
I did stop to check on you in the water, though.
You did. I do remember you saying, "Get going," or something like that.
I said, "Bubba, are you okay?"
Oh, was that it?
Yeah, and you go, "I'm fine." I said, "Then get going."
There it was. The most embarrassing part, I remember coming out of the water, and I'm sure my face was beet red, and I was dead. I was dead. And somehow after the race, it got back to me that your brother Kurt was there and my wife was there, and the joke was...
Yeah, I remember that. Oh, he's having a great time with you that day.
Do you know it exactly? You can say it.
I'm not gonna...
Kurt said something like, "Bubba looked like he wasn't going to make it, and I'm ready to move in and take his
I'll
place."
Take care of Sarah.
Yeah.
You don't make it out of the water. Oh, that was great.
Thank you, Kurt, for your concern, but we are still married. I didn't die that day, and that was definitely my baptism into triathlon for sure.
Oh, I had my hunting Bubba shirt on. Oh, I did videos and sent them to Bubba.
Yeah.
And you did a video sent me like the Rocky theme music the day before. Remember that?
I don't remember that one.
Oh, I've got it saved in my old phone. You were playing the Rocky theme music. I think it was Bridget who taped you.
What was I doing while that was
like
playing?
Shadow boxing or some silly stuff. And he told me that it was on tomorrow morning, and I mean, I was jacked up. And so I took a camouflage t-shirt, and I cut it off, And Mary wrote Bubba on it. We put a big
With
circle.
Target. I remember that.
With a target on it.
Yeah.
The name Bubba on it. And I said, I'm Bubba hunting tomorrow. And the greatest thing about our competitions for me was this, is that because you're emotional, you would get, just like when our sparring sessions, and I always tell you, Bubba, I'm only going 40%, Bubba. This is for fun. But I could see that glimmer in your eye when you showed up. You always wanted to get the best of me. And we had a 5K, I'd show up, and I love competition. Here's where we're different, I think. I love the competition to drive me personally. I don't care who wins. I don't. I just don't care. I love competing with somebody. I'll compete with anybody and anything. Because when I show up for competition, I guarantee you're getting the best version of me. I will train and train. And I know this, and I would teach my kids this. If you beat me, you beat the best version of me. I'm glad for you. That is outstanding. Yeah. We're different this way. And I don't get upset when I get beat. It just is. We've all got a certain skill set, God-given skill set. Yep. If I go to everything I got and you beat me, dude, congratulations. That's awesome. Yeah. But just so I remember when we passed each other on the run of that triathlon, and you looked at me. I saw it look in your face. I'm like, oh man, he's broke today. So it took away from my victory. I'm like, man, I didn't want it like this. I wanted it to be just me and you shoulder to shoulder, a dogfight at the end. And the race wasn't fair, because I will give you that. Besides the swim, we were tight the rest of the race. It was very tight. But you gave up so much time on the swim, you didn't stand a chance. No. You were dead in the water, literally dead in the water.
And really, that would have been my only chance, because even as we kept progressing and improved, you outpaced me so much. Not saying I didn't have good races from that point on, but you just took it to a whole nother level and were more serious and trained even farther distances. I mean,
my bike got nasty. During my peak of triathlon, I was averaging 23 and a half miles on a bike. I was fast enough. Yeah, I could smash a bike.
I couldn't do that. No way.
Running, I was mediocre. Swimming, you had to beat me out of the water.
Yep.
And once you fell apart in the water, I knew it was me a wrap that day. Yep. But I just remember that morning, I was sitting there, I had my big earphones on. I wouldn't even make eye contact. I thought we were, in my mind's eye, we're getting ready to go to World War III.
You did. You looked stupid with those headphones on that day too. You really did.
So that's what. But do you understand? We're competing. I'm zoned in. We're not friends right now.
Oh, I know. We got one. I think Mary took a picture, or Sarah took a picture of us before that. Shaved heads and everything.
Oh, yeah. I shaved my body hair.
Oh, okay. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, no.
Wow.
Like I said, when you see me, you're getting full pull. You're getting the whole works. And then afterwards, I could care less. But
right.
When it's time to go, it's time to go.
So for everyone watching on YouTube, since I'm not doing video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be, at this time, you're going to be seeing pictures of us. So if you got some of them old pictures on phones or whatever, or Mary, send them to me. And when we get to this part of the discussion, I'm going to insert them so people can see what we look like. But we had some fun with that stuff, man.
Super fun. I couldn't remember when that first time. So I flunked swimming in high school. Do you remember? I don't remember that or not. So I flunked swimming in high school. So the first time that I decided to go swimming was with you, and we went over. Where was that? Was it Waverly or somewhere that place to swim? Yeah, during the winter.
No, you were. I thought you got.
I ended up getting a membership down to River Plaza. That was.
You're talking before that.
Before that, the first time we went to some. Was it Independence or Waverly?
Oh, I can't really remember.
Yeah, it was a not very kind of a dungy pool. We went on a Friday night after work. It was like 5 to 7. It was open. We went there, and it was this big deal to try to swim 10 laps. That'd be 500 yards. And so me being, because I am kind of cocky, I have issues with that. So a guy who failed high school swim class, which is swim 1 lap in the pool. Okay, I failed that.
Oh, it was indoors.
Yes.
Independence, Buchanan County Health Center.
There you go.
Yeah, that's where I swam.
So you took me there.
Okay.
That was the first time I swam after I let my mouth get me in trouble with this triathlon with you. And don't you remember? I went 2 laps, and I was gassed. Yeah. I mean, I was holding on to the side, and I thought you were the world's greatest swimmer because you were still going. But oh my goodness, I'm done. Yeah. I got home that night, and we were 3 months out from the triathlon, right? Because this is my bright brain, I told Mary, I said, "Well, it's official." She goes, "What? I'm drowned. I can't. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it, Mary. I'm gonna drown. Yeah. I cannot swim 500 yards to save my life." So then I ended up getting a membership to the River Plaza, and they had a 17-yard pool, just a junky
tiny little thing. Yeah.
So you had to swim 87 laps in there to get a mile, So anyway, so Mary would come and she'd video me. and I'd study it.
That's what it
And
takes.
I'd concentrate. And I'd go to that pool every single day.
That's right. I forgot. Yeah, because I did one before you, and that's what got you into it, because you told me at a Bible quiz at a church in Cedar Rapids, you leaned over while our kids are competing in a Bible memory competition. You lean over and you say, by the way, I'm going to kick your butt in that triathlon next summer. And I was like, oh, you think so? You think so? And that's the one where I almost drowned. Yeah, that's right. Okay, now we're putting the timeline together.
Right, yeah, that's how that all started. Yeah, I could not swim.
That's right. Yeah, for anybody that can't swim out there, I mean, it really is as simple as either video of yourself. You can watch the YouTube videos and you can learn proper form and drills. But when you get in the water, it feels like you're doing that. But you might not be. So you need to have somebody video you to make sure your hands are entering the water spread apart, because they'll actually be like this or they'll be crossing. And yeah, you don't just have somebody film you, watch some videos. Anybody can swim freestyle. You really can. It's not that hard. And it's great. If you say you can't run, you say you got bad joints,
right?
There's no excuse for not swimming then. Go ahead, get in there. It's good cardio, good everything.
Great cardio.
Yeah. So where are you at right now, man? Wife, kids, church, work, hobbies, interests. We kind of talked a little bit about all of it. Where are you at right now?
Right now, I'm a committee man at John Deere's.
Okay.
Been there 26 years now. This is my second term as Area 3 committee man. It's a different type of work, I would say. It's more, well, it's not more. It's all mental stress. I spend my day doing various things. Helping the membership out basically. So it goes from being a counselor to being a lawyer, to go into people's houses and see why they aren't at work. It gets, and then you're arguing with a company who has no morals. You know what I mean? So, it's
dang.
You're all over the place. It's a very interesting job. I like it.
No more physical.
No, there's no physical labor in this job. It's all mental. So I spend, and I don't have set hours per se. I got flexibility with the job, but I also get phone calls, from when I'm on vacation. Yeah. 9:00 at night, 11:30 at night. Guy's having a problem, doesn't know what to do. He calls me up. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So,
it's a give and take. It's a give and take.
Right. Yeah, it's a good job. I enjoyed it. For the most part, I've enjoyed working at John Deere's. I had no complaints. It's been a good job over the years. And so my kids, like I said, George he's out of college, works at Financial Decisions Group. He lives up in Evansdale now. He's still dating Destiny. He's been dating Destiny since they were in high school. So eventually they're going to get married, I think. I'm guessing once he falls off my insurance, if I had to guess.
Oh, okay.
If I had to guess, I'd say that's why.
He knows money. He knows financials.
George is good with money. Elizabeth's at her second year at Hawkeye. She wants to be a school teacher. And Henry is just about 17 here in a week. He'll be 17, and so he loves running and
he went to state last year, right?
He made it to state in the 800 last year. He got 14th or 15th. I'm not for sure. He ran, but he started the year at a 220 something. He got down to 202 in the 800. So he's right. He is our goal this year is he was 1 second off the school record in the 800. His goal is to break all the school records from 400 through 3 miles. So it's doable. It's gonna be hard, but you got to set big goals.
Sure.
If you don't set big goals, you don't. He worked out extremely hard all summer. We did rag bride together this summer. Me and Henry did the entire rag bride. That was a lot of fun.
Really?
Yeah, we did the whole week of rag bride. Me and Henry did together. So the outdoors and sport keep me and Henry pretty tight.
Okay.
So we did all rag bride. That was super fun. We did a sprint and triathlon together this spring. Me and Henry did. And where was that at, Bubba? I don't know. My brain's so far.
Remember.
Oh, Pigman.
Pigman. Oh yeah, I did hear about that.
We went down and did Pigman. Henry won the 19 and under by like 4 or 5 minutes. He crushed everybody. So he had a good bike and a good run down there. So he won. So then he got to go to nationals, USA Nationals, which is
like that qualified him for nationals.
Well, last fall. So that this one will qualify him for nationals for next year. Last fall he won a race down by Des Moines, and so that qualified him for nationals for this year. So he went to Milwaukee and he did nationals. And that was an interesting experience. It was in the Great Lakes, so he didn't want to wear a wetsuit, but the water was cold and choppy and super windy that day, and so there was a very large current pushing it in. It was 700 yards wind. Needless to say, he had a horrible swim. He got caught up in the current. He couldn't get through it. He got beat up. Got his goggles knocked off his face. So I literally thought he drowned out there. He's out there so long. I was getting ready to go. Me and George were starting to panic.
Yeah.
And he finally comes out of the water like a drowned rat. He looks at me, he just shakes his head. He's like, this race is over. I'm
Yep.
like, yep,
Yeah.
it's over. So, yeah, that's where. So our big thing coming up as far as what I'm doing now, me and Hank are doing a half Ironman this coming weekend.
Where at?
It's Square Lake in Minnesota.
Okay.
So I'm pretty nervous about that, honestly. So my body hasn't held up. I'm almost 50 now. So we got a lot of nagging injuries that are,
Yeah.
plantar plates tore. My hamstring's been tore several times. Now my shoulder's dinged up, so my days of competing are done. My days of having fun and just doing them to stay in shape, that's where I'm at.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, my days of chasing, a 5 hour and 30-minute half Ironman they're no. I want to finish it in the allotted time. That's my goal, Bubba,
Wow.
to be alive at the finish line.
Okay.
And I will be smiling. So I think that's important, though, if you change your expectations.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't expect to do a 5 hour. I've done a 5:30. I was able to compete. I was able to beat pros off a bike. I can't do it anymore. Just done. Now I enjoy riding my bike. So I ride my bike 5-6 days a week. I ride my bike. I've got a couple pretty nice road bikes. I ride them. I love riding bikes.
Yep.
Really enjoy running. I like swimming. I love fishing. Henry is a nut for fishing too. We're getting ready for deer season this weekend. We were up moving stands and getting stuff ready for deer season. Henry's going to bow hunt this year, so it should be fun.
Nice. Because you guys will do it all up there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Bow, shotgun, muzzleloader.
We'll do the works.
Okay.
Yep. So Mary's in like her 20th year of teaching. She just got another master's degree here.
I was going to say 20th year of college, too. It seems like she's always going back.
She loves school. She's a lifelong learner is what she likes to say. And so
Oh,
she is very dedicated to her job. She's excellent at it, unbelievably good at it. So she's got this latest master's is in, what do you want to call it? Leadership. So now she's qualified. She's got all the documents to be a principal now. So I think her long-term goal is to be a principal now. So,
okay.
So right now she's a literacy coach for Waterloo schools, and her long-term goal is to become a principal, which she'd be excellent at.
Yeah.
But I wanted to wait till the kids are out of school when Henry's done, because, right now she's 11 hours a day. I mean, at work, and if she's not at work, she's on a computer working. She's got a busy job.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine the workload of a principal. You know what I mean? So that'll be fine when I'm retired, God willing, in a couple of years. And when there's no kids at home, she can just,
makes more sense then.
you sit there 12 hours a day if you feel like it. I don't care. I'll be out doing something else.
Yeah.
So that's my life's at right now, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah. We've been going to Grace Baptist Church over there in Waterloo.
Okay.
Mary really likes it.
That's good.
Yep, she likes it a lot over there. The preachers are really good. They go long though, Bubba.
Yeah.
They go long.
You know what Jace Robertson says about that?
You know what I say about that with my ADHD.
Well, yeah, that's true. But you remember what he says on the podcast? He says, if you can't say it in 30 minutes, you should have wrote a book.
That's where me and Jace disagree. In my mind's eye, if you can't get it done in 20, why are we doing it?
Oh, my goodness. You shortened it even 10 more minutes?
Bubba, I'm over here right now banging my legs here because I get fidgety, Bubba.
We just passed the hour mark.
Did we really?
And we haven't even took a sponsor break yet.
Well, we haven't talked to each other for quite a long time, though, so.
Yeah.
I would say he's an excellent preacher.
Good.
Wes is excellent. I'll give him this. He's two things that he does that churches should do. There's invitation. There's words I can't say. That's one of them I can't say.
Invitation. That's right.
It doesn't sound right coming out of my head. He does one of those every week.
Good.
Every week. Churches have got away from that.
Yep.
And he brings so when you go to church, in my mind's eye, and I'm no scholar and I'm no great at anything, but this in my mind's eye, from the way I grew up, a church service should always start and it should end with Jesus. And it should start and end with why we're talking about him, why we're here, how we got here, and how we're leaving. And if you can't come back to that, you should always be able to come back to, listen, we're all sinners.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one way off this planet, and it's Jesus. If we can't get back to that, then why did we come here?
Yeah. What have you been talking about?
And I went to church for years and never had seen an invitation. And I thought that was a thing of the past.
Oh.
We're getting back to that. Church does that. He does an excellent job at that. And he's also not scared to speak on things that are touchy.
Controversial?
No, they're not controversial. Not
by
at all.
by today's standards?
What standard?
The ever declining standard of you can't say that or you can't talk about that.
Disagree. So I've had many of conversations just recently about this, but you can have any opinion you want. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
There's things that I've struggled with and don't understand from the Bible my whole life. But I do understand this. That's the Bible. That's what God says. It doesn't matter what your opinion is. Period. I mean, you can either accept it or you can't, in my mind's eye, Bubba.
Right.
And I know, so I know it's hard for me to say this, I guess. I get it right. Here's why. You want to see my biggest, this isn't our thing, but this is one of the things I want to touch on.
Okay.
In my mind's eye, the biggest problem with the Church of America today and people who say that they're Christians are creating a God and Jesus that fits their narrative. Do you see what I'm saying, Bubba?
Yeah. Yep.
Because I'm okay with this. I'm going to create this Jesus that's okay with what I think, how I feel.
Yep.
It's not about that. There's a lot of things that I just don't and I struggle with these. You know that back then.
Yep.
I still struggle with faith. You know that. I am a man of little faith. I just always have been. I struggle with it on a daily basis. I always have been. I question a lot of stuff. I don't understand stuff. It bothers me.
Right.
We could have a podcast on the things that bother me. But at the end of the day, I do understand this. I'll never try to make up a God that's not of the Bible. I'll just say I don't understand it. I don't have an answer for you. I understand your opinion. But later on, we'll talk about it. But so if you want that is, and I'm giving it to you whether you want it or not.
That's
that
fine.
in my mind's eye is the biggest problem. People, now you look at the Presbyterians and the Methodists who have made up a Jesus that is not the Jesus of the Bible that I've read.
Yep.
And so the Bible talks about what happens to people who do that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's very grave. You
Strict
cannot,
warnings.
Don't. When you're blasphemy in that church, whoosh, you're an April Ice. It bothers me that we would do that. So, not everybody's gonna be comfortable with what's said in there. It is what it is. You see what I'm saying? That's all I see with that. That's it.
You're 100% on the right track. Definitely. That's good.
That's what I see about that. Okay. What else
All
we got there, Bubba?
Our first sponsor today is Sandy's. They offer some of the best custom engraving, vinyl graphics, promotional products available. We're talking signs, badges, awards, magnets, stamps, apparel, anything you need. You need t-shirts for a soccer team, or maybe you want to give someone a customized plaque or a big magnet on the side of your car for your new business. Well, I'm telling you what to do. Go see my friend Amanda at Sandy's, and she'll take care of you. She's at 1111 South Street in Waterloo, and they can do it all with an unlimited number of customizable products to choose from. And everything that they do is guaranteed quality, so you don't got to worry about mistakes. Check out their website at Sandees, SANDEES LTD.com, and then contact my friend Amanda over there today at 319-235-1681. Or you can email her at amanda@sandees.net to place your custom order. Big or small, she'll treat you right, I promise you. And be sure to tell her that you heard about her awesome store and all of her amazing customizable products on the What Is Up podcast. Or you can just tell her Bubba sent you. Man, where did the time go? It's been an hour already. And I'm going to try and keep these episodes at an hour or less. So Ryan, I think we're just going to have to make this into 2 episodes. So guys, if you're listening, don't forget, wherever you're listening, on Spotify, you need to follow it, give it a 5-star, click the little bell so you get notified when I drop an episode. And if you're on YouTube or somewhere else, be sure and like it, subscribe it, leave a comment. If you can rate it, rate it. That just helps other people see it. I have no high hopes of ever making any money off of this thing, but it just helps it spread out to reach more people, and that's the goal, try and encourage more people. So this is part 1 of the first episode with Ryan Peterson. Be looking for episode 2 to drop within the week after this one. I appreciate you guys' support. Please keep listening, spread it around, see if we can encourage some people. Lord willing, I'll see you on the next one.